Okay, I wanted to pop in because I almost forgot to record this part about 9688. So the sizing on this is quite interesting. I probably won't show any of the cutting out or anything, only because I think I will be able to share. This might be a semi sew along, so I'm just gonna skip over the whole cutting things out. You guys know how to cut things out, but this might be a little bit of a longer video, so adding that is just going to make it even longer. But anyway, so the sizing, I decided to go with a size 24, and the only things that I am going to consider, if you all remember, I had shared, if you can tell, there you go, there's shoulder pads in this here jacket. There's clearly shoulder pads in here, and the pattern, from what I've gone through the instructions a couple times, making sure I didn't overlook it, but there is nothing in the instructions about adding shoulder pads here. And so, but clearly she has shoulder pads in this jacket. So having said that, make sure you take in consideration fit around your shoulders, because the shoulder pads, unless they put something in there so the jacket, the sleeve seam fell on by her shoulder, but it looked like shoulder pads to me. But anyway, so a couple things that I will look at is, and I did grab the front piece, is I will have to consider, and you might too as well, is the shoulder seam. So if I lay the pattern on me, make sure your pattern is all pressed and nice and everything for you. But if I put, this here is the front piece one. So piece one is the front, and then you have the side front. So the side front is gonna go right here. So I'm not worried about this. It was more this here. I wanted to make sure where it was hitting on my shoulder. And so I have on a tank, so it goes, this what I have on goes in a little bit, but here's my shoulder right here. If I were to put this here, it to me is hanging off my shoulder, right? But after I've added the seam allowance on both sides, it should, because it's 5/8 and then it's going to be lined, it should, for me, let me stand up straight, hit where it's supposed to hit. And so I think I'll be fine. I'm totally fine with that, because what I would have done, say you think yours might be in a little bit, the cheater method is really just to measure about where you think is going to stop and just curve that out, you know, slant that out so it comes out. That's kind of the cheater's method. But and I do have a video on that. I think it's on my forward shoulder adjustment or something like that video. If I can remember, I'll try to link that below. All right, I am 5'7". And so this jacket, and a lot of people mentioned this when they were selecting it or thinking about selecting it, this jacket is long. It is definitely longer than what I would want. Let me try to adjust my camera so you temporarily won't see my face. But see, this is like, that is too long for me. So I think I want mine to hit high hip, which is around that belly area for me. That's where I want mine to stop. So as you can tell, that is quite a bit. I will be taking off. I will be measuring. I'm going to mark this on me and then go up. No, I think I'm going to stop it right here where this top is starting. So let me pull my top about to where I want it to stop. That's going to be comfortable for me, and I'm just going to end it there, because I got to remember there is seam allowance that's going to take it up. I think it's 1.5 inches hem that's going to take it up even further, so that's perfect. I am just going to shorten it by this much. So if you do that, remember you have to do it on the outer fabric and the lining fabric and the facing pieces. So do not forget to do that. And then also consider, because the front has the flaps, those are non-functional pockets. You may need to raise that up, and then it has pockets in the side. You may need to raise the pockets up in the side up. I have not decided if I'm going to put the inseam pockets on the side. I may not, and just have the cute little front flap pockets and just leave it at that, because I don't know that I will ever use those pockets, but I do like the look of the pockets on the front. So we shall see, but that's what I am going to do. So far as adjustments, I think that's it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm good with the shoulders. May or may not do the pockets. Definitely got to shorten the jacket. And then the sleeves, I'm not going to do the slit sleeves. I have decided that I'm going to do the regular sleeves, and what I'm going to do more than likely is wear those sleeves cuffed. So because I was going to take a couple inches off the sleeve, I may still do that just in case I don't want to cuff them. I'll probably still take an inch or two off the sleeve, but I know I'm going to want to turn up the sleeve to maybe a bracelet length so I can stack some bracelets on. I think that would be cute. So yeah, I think that's it. All right, next time you see me, we will get to sewing. So I have measured how short I want the jacket to be. I took off a total of 3, and I just folded my pattern piece up and pinned it down, and I will need to do that for all the pattern pieces as well as the lining. And for the record, if you do decide to shorten your pieces, or for some, maybe somebody wants to lengthen it, you have quite a few pieces you will have to do that to. So I had shortened this by 3 inches, and so there's because you have to think of the side pieces, the back, the lining pieces as well. So there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces that I had to shorten. And as I shortened them, I made sure my grain line was extended, because you want the grain line to meet. Not you just folding it up thinking, oh, this is good. Make sure your grain line match up. Extend that grain line down and make sure it matches up, because you don't want your garment in the end twisting on you or you having any issues like that. So I did that for all my pieces. This one is one that's being cut on the fold, so as you can tell, the fold lines meet. And then you'll just have to true up your sides. You can do that directly on a nut, put this on some pattern paper and do it, or you can do it as you're cutting out your pieces. Totally up to you, but I did want to point that out. All right, per usual, I'm always starting these things after a good workout. So what I will be doing, I'll pop up notes on the screen. I'm not sure how much of this will be a sew along. I'm sorry. Yes. I don't think much of this will be a sew along at all, because there's just a lot, and it is my first time making it. And by all means, if you guys would like to see like a step-by-step, sew along is the step-by-step, me showing you everything. The sew with me is just me. I'll be fast forwarding. As soon as I'm done yapping, I'll be fast forwarding through a lot of the things that I'm doing, but I'll put up on the screen, or I'll insert different clips along the way that I think might be helpful. But yeah, this will not be a full-fledged sew along. There's just a lot in this pattern to do. Not complicated from, you know, my review, but like I say, there is a lot in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Again, I am doing view B, and all my interfacing and everything, as you saw, adjustments made, everything is attached. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and we'll just fast forward through a lot of this, and I'll put notes on the screen and pause. You'll know when I pause and talk about something, because I think I will have, I'm pretty sure I will have chapters along the screen and in the description box. So if there is something specifically I stop to talk about, I'll be sure to make sure that there is a part in here. You all know what I'm saying. All right, let me get to sewing. hopefully you can see this part. I am stitching the under collar to the back of the jacket. I am so happy I did not do a sew along or decide to try to do a sew along, because this is a very tricky bit. This is step 17. So you're supposed to, I stitched this side already. Let's see. So this is all of the back, and then this is the under collar. So you stitch this one end together first, and I got this side pinned, and then you're supposed to, this curve of the back under collar, clip into the curve, because then the rest of this is supposed to stitch all the way, lay all the way. And it's very important to have your dots marked, so you know you're landing in the right spot, because some of these marks, you can't see mine. I know it's much later in the day, this particular day, but there's a dot there, and it's supposed to meet on the shoulder seam. So yeah, so tricky. So take your time with step number 17. I'll show you what this looks like once I'm done. Okay, so results of me adding the collar. You guys know I struggle with collars, and like I said, I'm so happy I did not do this as a sew along, because yeah, your girl would have messed you all the way up. But here is the under collar going on to the jacket, the outer part of the jacket. So I have, and I actually left one side so I can show you. This is how I sewed it on, the collar, or the under collar, to the front of the jacket, based on my initial reading of the picture. So it says step 17, to pin the front edge of the under collar to the front edge of the jacket, matching small and large dots, having raw edge even. And it tells you, and it has the picture. For whatever reason, I stitched this in that has nothing there. This piece, let me come up. I stitched this down by accident, and I shouldn't have. So I stitched this down, and this is what it looked like. This. So that's wrong. I'm getting ready to unpick this. And so I was talking with Myra, just telling her, oh, I struggle with collars. And I actually was going to come back and unpick because it's puckered here. And I was so frustrated, I stopped and moved on to the next step in the instructions, which I highly recommend, so you don't make further mistakes and give your time to think about what you did wrong. And so my conclusion was, oh, I'll just go and unpick this and clip down further to flatten that out and then restitch it all on. Well, I was talking to my good friend Myra, and and I was telling her, she said, oh, I would love to see what you're doing when you're doing collars, what you're struggling with. So I said, oh, if you got a few minutes, I'll show you. And so I showed her, and she said, oh, because I just told you, I stitched all of this down and then up, and then that's just how my brain was reading those instructions. So now I'm back in focus. I had stitched all of this down, and it was bunchy right there. I unpicked this, and what they were telling me is to match these dots, not these dots. So I unpicked, and this is where I needed to start stitching, because now you have that piece open like it is on the instructions I just showed you. And so I unpicked this, so that needs to be open. So if you get to this point, that's what that is. And then all of this is fine. And so I'm getting ready to unpick this. So let me show you also, because I got all the way down to step 21. Let me show you that. Actually, this is step 23. I had just kept going, and because I knew I was going to go back to that collar. But anyway, so this here is the piece that's cut on the fold. The back facing piece needs to go on the back. And of course, when you attach it, it's flipped up, and it has to go into that whole curve at the top of your pattern piece, which once you sew it, it's going to look like this. That will be the back of the jacket. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to share, make sure you clip, because you stay stitched this back piece. Let me turn it around. Make sure you clip really good in that, that curve on piece number, what piece is that? 15, that back piece. Make sure you clip in that curve real good, because it'll really open it up to allow you to attach that curved piece. So then once you stitch it together, it will look fantastic. All right, that's what I wanted to share. I am going to keep going. All right, everybody, happy Sunday. Welcome back to the channel. As you can tell by the title, this is the subscriber pick from the month of September, the final pattern in focus from the Simplicity line of patterns. And so this one is delayed. Typically, I do the reveal in the same month, but got a little behind on schedule, so we're bringing it to you now. Better late than never. And yeah, okay, so I have it on. We're going to get into all of the details. You saw the first few clips shared with you, you know, some preliminary things, a couple things that I found, not a lot, because this was not meant to be a sew along. I hope I never build it as that. Usually it's a sew with me, and it really wasn't that, because there were a couple things I was even struggling with, and it would have just taken way more time for me to be trying to film stuff and talk and sew and figure stuff out. So yeah, this was billed as my, you know, push project, like push through to something that challenges you, and this was definitely one of those projects. So again, this is Simplicity 9688. Thank you to all of my subscribers for selecting this. By the way, after you watch this video, head on over to my community tab, because the pattern in focus that's up next is McCall's patterns. There are 3 patterns up for vote. The day I'm filming this, it'll still be a couple days. I'll be taking it down before the video goes up, which will be on Wednesday. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, because Wednesday I will reveal what the pattern is that was selected from McCall's. Go check it out, the pattern. But I'm gonna combine my Simplicity wrap up. Typically that's a separate video I do separately, and then I'll reveal what my pattern pick, the new pattern pick is. But because I am a little behind on some content that I have planned, I'm gonna put those 2 together. So stay tuned for Wednesday. You'll get my Simplicity roundup, plus you'll get the fabric. Well, you already saw the fabric, because if you saw my sewing buzz, you saw that, but I'll share it again, the fabric, and then the pattern choice that you all picked. So thanks again. Thank you for all of your support. So, and the other thing I want to mention, because today was such a good day, you guys, I wore this, and I will pop up video. I believe Roz recorded for me. I actually taught a class today, and it was, yeah, it was about bag making on your domestic machine. And so that was so much fun. So that's what I wore this to today. So I purposely waited to do this part of the video, because I knew I was going to be wearing this. And so yeah, so just got back home. I'm gonna go through. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section. But let's go ahead and jump into it. 9688. Remember, I was telling you all about, here's the importance of reading. You will notice with me, yes, I'm beyond a beginner, so it's you know, maybe creeping into that advanced level. It all depends, right? But even me, if you all follow my channel, you know one of the things that I seem to have challenges with is reading things through all of the way. Remember, I kept saying, and I'll pop up the picture here because you won't be able to see, that it looks like she has on shoulder pads. And when I initially looked at the notions and everything needed for the project, I didn't see shoulder pads on here anywhere. That's how fast I was reading this. Well, as I was constructing the jacket, there is a step that talks about shoulder pads. And I'm thinking, there's nothing about shoulder pads listed on this pattern. Yes, there is. It's clearly right on the back. Notions. 1 pair of shoulder pads. So, you guys, really take your time, read through. I will say, so I don't forget the fabric. Remember this fabric I shared with you? They are the House of Tola. They sell Ankara fabric, and I got this beautiful Ankara fabric from the House of Tola. They're based out of, I want to say she's in Austin, Texas. One of the other ladies here had shared this shop with me, so they're up on BHM Pattern Designers. And the lining, if you all remember, and I will take my jacket off, came from Destashify. And so it was left over. And so I have used all of it because I used it on this and another project that I won't be sharing for a while yet. But all of that lining fabric is used up. I did View B. View B is the one I didn't do the belt. So I did not do the belt, and it also comes with side pockets, side jacket pockets, inseam pockets. I did not do those because I didn't want that, and I did not do the button on the front because I didn't want a button, and I would never close it. Depending on the different style or fabric that I use, I would add a button just for decoration, but not for actual functioning purposes. So let's get into the size. I cut out, I believe I mentioned in the beginning, I cut out a full size 24. And it's the 24W. The size pack I have is the 20W through the 28W. And I cut out the 24W. Now, and with my current measurements. So my measurements are 46 full bust, waist 40, and then the hip is 52. But you will notice, and I'll pop back up the picture of the pattern, this jacket is quite long, and it is very long. I showed you in the beginning that I did shorten it, and what I did was, as you saw, I just pinned out. I took out 3 inches and just pinned it where I wanted it to go. I have not taken the pins out of any of those pattern pieces yet because I wanted to make sure once the jacket was finished. I thought this would be fine because I did measure it, everything on me to make sure, but just after construction, you know how things shorten even more and everything, taking into account seam allowance, I wanted to make sure that I was good with the final. And I am. So it's once I take the pins out, I'm just going to tape this in place and just leave it like that. I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to take that shortened amount in place so I don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's another thing that I did. Going over the instructions. Now, I did not find the instructions terribly hard to follow, except for the collar part. And that's just me. Again, with projects like this, where it might seem a little overwhelming, a little daunting, you have to read things several times. And I had help. Thank you, Myra, my good friend Myra Lorraine, because I thought one thing, as you saw, I won't repeat myself, but I was thinking one thing and how to fix that thing, the collar, and why it wasn't laying right on the under collar wasn't laying right, but it was, I just sewed it on wrong. And so again, thank you, Myra Lorraine, for helping out with that. I will say, if you do decide to I didn't do shoulder pads, and for me, I personally just don't like shoulder pads. I did make the Chilton trench with shoulder pads, which I'm fine with a coat like that. That's more of a trench, but something like this, shoulder pads obviously would have raised this up, if you can tell, but I'm fine how this drapes on me. And so that is one thing to consider if you decide to do shoulder pads, how it might sit on you. And I will say, and I'll share with you, because you can't really tell because this is so busy, but I'm gonna see if I can share this with you in a different view. But you do have to ease in the sleeve at the top. The one thing I will say, I believe I had mentioned, I wasn't sure, it looked like I should be fine when I added the sleeve, that the end that the shoulder seam ended where it should. Well, on me, here's where the shoulder seam is. If you can tell, my shoulder is right here. So I really could have taken off a good about 3/4 inch to have this come up some more. But that's fine. I know that that's a note I am going to mark down on my pattern. I have a cheater's method of doing that. I think I shared a video many moons back how to do that. If I can remember that video, I will link it down below. But so far as the instructions, this is a lot of pattern pieces. As you can tell, we are working with what was it, 11 pattern pieces. 1, 2, 3. No, I'm sorry, 15. 14 if you don't do the inseam pockets. So I didn't count, that count did not include the belt or the carrier. But so 14. And so yeah, quite a few pattern pieces. And then there's some that you have to interface, and then of course your lining, quite a few pieces. So definitely not bad at all. Looking at my notes, I can say, I'm happy to say, I don't have a ton of notes. One of the things I will say, suggestions that I would say about the jacket, when you, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my jacket off as I'm talking. When you are constructing the flap, so the flap on the front of this jacket, those look like pockets, but they're just flaps, so they're non-functional, right? And it tells you to line those flap pieces. My suggestion is not to do that. Do not line the pocket flaps with lining fabric. I would say, because I'm gonna hold it up, so obviously it's kind of hard to see because it's so busy, but so here's the pocket flap. It's lined with the same fabric that I use for lining. I would say, because if this flips up, you'll see the pink, which is all personal preference. For me, after I had did it, I was like, oh, you know what? I'd rather have used the main fabric for underneath as opposed to lining underneath. So totally up to you what you would want to do, but that is a suggestion I have depending on the type of look that you're going for. The other thing I would mention, I'm just cross-checking my notes that I wrote in the pattern that I wanted to share with you. So another thing is, because I shortened all of the pattern pieces, I did miss on the, what is it, side, this front piece. So the pocket, again, you can't tell because it's so busy, the pocket is supposed to go across your side panel and that front piece. Mine is sitting all on the side panel, which, I mean, it doesn't look horrible or anything, but it should be coming across this section here as opposed to all the way over here. So keep that in mind if you adjust those pattern pieces, to make sure that you account for that flap that needs to go on there, that is going across that seam in the front and not just on the side how I had it. So I did miss that. And again, you'll see pictures here momentarily. I did pop in the clip about where I got confused on the collar. And so once I got that together, here's how my finished collar looks. And this side turned out absolutely perfect. This side, just a little gap right here. And I'll tell you why. You do have to trim down those seams on the inside. And because I was picking and unpicking so much in that area, the weaves just loosened up on the in that area. And then when I clipped it down, I think I clipped this side, was the one I clipped down too much. And so so yeah, but again, obviously from a distance it looks just fine, right? But yeah, I will say that I like the construction. There's one part of this construction I absolutely did not like, and I would totally do different. I'll share that with you in a moment. But I love it. It gives you do a nice little pleat in the back, so you have room, so you know when you line jackets like this or coats, you always have that pleat to give you that movement, so your lining fabric can't be attached in the same size as your main fabric, because then you won't have any movement. And I did manage to remember to add my label. I sell these on my website, but I remember to add my label before I attach the two pieces together, so you know I'm not having stitching coming through the back or anything like that. I added it once I added the back facing piece, so that's that back facing piece, and of course where you attach the lining. But I shared that with you also, so if you missed that part, go back and watch that. But other than that, it came together beautifully. There was there anything else? There's really not. This is one of those projects, because there's so many pieces, all you have to do is take your time. You can do it. Take your time. If you decide to do the shoulder pads, I did read through the shoulder pad instructions. They weren't overly complicated, and I think because of the shoulder pads is why they instructed you to put the sleeves and everything together the way they did, attach them I should say, to the outer garment. Because there was nothing else I wanted to say. Yeah, there's nothing else instruction wise. I thought the instructions were really good, actually. They were really good. Just pay attention to your markings, because that is so key. What I find with collars that's really key are your markings, where your dots and what you're supposed to match up. This dot is supposed to sit on the shoulder seam, and then this dot. That's what's really key that I'm finding as I continue to work through my challenges of doing collars. Doesn't matter if it's a shirt collar or a jacket collar, I always have do something goofy. And so it's really just reading carefully, making sure all your markings are there, and then you will be fine. Now, when you are putting together your outer and your lining and the outer fabric, I absolutely did not like that. That's the only thing I did not like. The construction of putting adding the sleeves and everything. So what they have you do, you don't even touch your sleeves at this point. Once everything is together, aside from your sleeves, you turn the jacket through one of the sleeve openings, and so you have a complete, all this then is clean, totally bagged out at the bottom. You don't have to worry about any of that. Is really nice. How they tell you to finish all of this off is really good. Actually, I'm supposed to hand stitch this down right here. I never do. I've done it a couple times. I might on this because it's laying so nicely, but I'm thinking I will because with wash I can see that maybe pulling away if it's not tacked down, so I will go ahead and tack that down. But and plus, let me just tell you, this lining fabric, woo, frayed like the dickens. So yeah, it was something. But anyway, let me turn this inside out. So when you don't even construct the sleeves yet before you turn this thing right side out, and then they want you to sew. Then they tell you how to start sewing the sleeve together and everything, which is fine. All that is fine, how to attach them. Then once you have the sleeve lining and outer attached together, they want you to sew it, the lining, to the lining piece of the jacket. And so obviously it looks clean on the inside, right? But how they have you finish the outside, the main fabric, is because there is a step that you would have to excuse me, that you would have to, they want you to sew around the arm sleeve at the top, the cap, the whole, all the way around, and then they want you to turn it in on they want you to sew the seam allowance, stitch the seam allowance in, press it in, and then they want you to bring that, and they want you to hand stitch it over all the way around. No, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. That is, for me, too much work. That's just me. You can do that. That might be, for those who like hand sewing, I know a lot of y'all like that. I'm not into all that hand sewing. So after I saw that, I was like, oh, we're not doing that. So what I did was, after I did the construction per instructions of putting the sleeve, the lining, and the main sleeve together, I went ahead and stitched the sleeve all the way around together, both the lining and the main together. Then I eased it in and put it in and sewed it into the jacket. But what I did to hide all of that seam is I just used bias binding. This is silk polyester bias binding. I just used all the way around for a clean finish for my sleeve on the inside. That's what I did, because I was not doing all that hand stitching. However, having done that, it did, because you are easing in that sleeve cap, it did make this a little thicker and bulkier than it was intended to be, because you're supposed to hand stitch it down on the outside. What would I do different in my suggestion? If you are familiar with putting together jackets and things of that nature, anything that has a lining like this, do that process, which is you would sew the lining with the sleeves all together as one. That's like one jacket. Then you sew the outer as one, and then you as following the instructions, then sew everything together as the instructions, as it tells you just for the jacket. Do it for the whole thing, and finish your sleeves the same way. You can still finish your sleeves that same way, because once you finish the sleeves, once they're attached on the inside together, I mean, you have nothing showing there. It's just, it's beautiful, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't do all that, stitch the lining sleeve to the lining and then attach on the main fabric to the outside by turning it under and then hand stitching around, unless you want to. Maybe that's your thing. And even if you do the shoulder pads and everything, you can still add the shoulder pads in before, you know, going through doing, you know, you don't have to necessarily do this, or you can do this, but again, you have to take in consideration that you have to take out some fullness out of that sleeve if you're gonna, you know, add the binding. But I did the binding because it's absolutely stunning that way, and I didn't want to be bothered with all that hand stitching. So yeah, that's one thing that I would say. But what I can say, I'll make sure pictures and videos popping up. Teaching the class today was so much fun, and the ladies enjoyed it. Thank you everybody who turned out for the class. I greatly appreciate it. I know many of them watch the channel, so hello and thank you so much for the support. But I tell you, I rocked it today. I love this entire look. You all know, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm good. I love some prints together. Mix up your prints, mix up your jewelry. Look, I mean, my jewelry don't match, but I mean, I'm not going for matchy. You know, I like doing stuff like this. Got on my belt, you'll see in the picture and everything, but absolutely love how it turned out. You all will have to let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. I do recommend it. I do recommend it. It's a good jacket pattern. It is. It's just long. Not long as in time-wise, I admit, because I was doing recording and stuff, and I had started earlier in the month of September and then didn't finish it off until it's October now. So I did the final tweaks like last night, the night before I'm filming this. So if I wasn't doing all that stopping and starting and taking my, sorry, the camera cut off, it would probably take, I would say, give yourself a good 2 days. Because I want you to take your time. If you're a fast sewist, you can sew this in a day. I mean, after you've cut out, because it's a lot of cutting out, a lot of fabric pieces. You need a good 3 yards. You know, I had 6 of this. You need a good 3 yards for it. And then also your lining, you need a good 2.5 for that. So take your time with the cutting out, measuring everything, making sure it's hitting where you want it to hit. I absolutely love where this hits now. And so, yeah, I will permanently take those pieces at the new length. But yeah, it is a long jacket. If you're taller, because I'm 5'7", so if you're taller than me, or you like longer jackets, maybe you're shaped differently below your waist, then you can just play with how far you want that to hit you and where it's going to hit you, and different things like that. But I like where this is hitting me. I think the fit and everything is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. So all right, everybody, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions, definitely leave them down in the comment section below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. But stay tuned for Wednesday. We will have the McCall's pattern pick. Go over to the community tab if you haven't voted, and we will also have a roundup of the simplicity patterns. All right, everybody, have a blessed one. You all have a great start to your week, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.